All right, the Longhorns have finished week 2 of spring ball and some things are beginning to crystallize. Which players are gearing up for a good season? And what did we learn from this past week? Eric Nalin, owner of Inside Texas, is back to give us all the latest reports coming out of camp. Inside Texas is the place for the best team coverage in real time. Subscribe to InsideTexas.com today. Link in the description. Let's check in on some key difference makers and see what they can provide for Texas going into year 3. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, Eric, and we just wrapped week 2 of spring ball, and the first thing I thought was interesting is we have an awesome group of early enrollees, but the coaches aren't taking it easy on them. So how are the freshmen doing as the coaches test their mental and physical abilities?
I think it's time-honored sentiment that the more that they expect out of a player, the more that they're going to push them, and the more they're going to throw their way. And, as we've said a lot of times, they have a lot of respect for this freshman class, the way they work, the way they prepare, professional attitude they have, a maturity about them. And because of that, they're pushing the installs faster than they have in the past. They're further along in team install on offense and defense than they have been in years past. Part of that might be due to the experience within the roster. A lot of these guys have been through it 2 years now, so they're ahead of the curve. But they have a lot of faith in the freshmen to be able to do the same. Now, that doesn't mean that they're all keeping pace. Some of them have their heads swimming more than others, but a lot of others are showing really positive signs and, really adjusting to what's being thrown their way.
Good stuff. And then we have old Quinn Ewers, and there's been this narrative this offseason that he's trying to take those next steps. Some changes to his body we hoped were a physical metaphor for the changes happening inside. Are we seeing a more confident, a more knowledgeable Quinn on the field?
Quinn Ewers' physical transformation does seem to be taking root on the field as well. Not only is he quicker of foot, he's always a good athlete. We just didn't quite see it because he's carrying a little extra weight there. He had a good run the other day in practice. So I think that was on Thursday's practice. But he's making plays behind the line of scrimmage with his feet that we didn't see last year. Sometimes we saw him got dragged down from behind. He's a lot more quicker in the pocket. And I think he's quicker. He's processing quicker as well. So I do think he's more composed. He's definitely more calm. The game slowed down for him a little bit. That doesn't mean he's setting the world on fire, but he's doing a better job protecting the ball than he was even last August. So, I don't know if he's entirely more confident. I think it's more of he's regained his confidence that we saw versus Alabama, because it wasn't like he lacked for confidence as a freshman. His confidence was shaken. I think we started to see him regain that after the long break between the Baylor game and the bowl game. That certainly continued into spring practice.
And then his weapons at wide receiver are becoming more clear depth chart wise, but that room is coming on a little bit slower with some drops. So what does receiver look like this past week?
Well, the receivers are definitely talented, and you can always see talent by, are they able to get open? Are they able to make some tougher catches? But, on Saturday, there were too many drops when they got off to their start of the one-on-one portion of practice. And drops have been a concern. A.D. Mitchell had his share at Georgia, and some of those amazing catches were even double catches that he made too. Everywhere that we know he had some struggles last year. Whittington's been more reliable, and I think he has expanded his catch radius a little bit. He's made some catches. I saw one with my own eyes at an open practice, but he made one recently that I don't think he would have brought in last season. I don't know if that's just a better throw, coming in and staying in the catch bucket longer, or if he's just adjusting to the ball better. But, I think that's something that we're going to have to monitor going into the season. There might be some high risk, high reward plays with them. They might have some drops they shouldn't have, but they might make some amazing plays. But overall, I really like the two deep, even though some of those guys are young or are still getting acclimated to the offense. There's a lot of talent. DeAndre Moore and Jonte Cook are two of those freshmen I was just talking about that came in ready, mature, professional, ready to go. And they're good. DeAndre Moore's already on second team kick return, at least based on Saturday. So, it's a very good two deep. It's going to get better with Isaiah Nayer's return. Vernon Thompson return from track. The addition of Ryan Niblett, they might be able to do some gimmicky things with him that they tried to do with Savion Red last year. So overall, it's in a good place, but drops are going to be, somewhat of a concern heading into next year. But they got a lot of time to get more data on that. They got a lot more time to work with new wide receivers coach Chris Jackson. And so we'll see. I don't want to take too much from a small sample size, but we did see some evidence of drops before.
We have our two leading running backs and Jonathan Brooks and Keelan Robinson out, but the upside is the younger guys are getting some quality reps. So what's the latest on Savion Red and Jaden Blue?
I think what I heard from a source after Saturday was, hits a nail on the head. The competition is just even from top to bottom. All those guys can make plays. They're all good. With Brooks and Keelan Robinson out for the most part, those other guys are getting a chance to perform. And, they might get to a point where Brooks might figure out a way to get more healthy so those guys don't get too far ahead, because even though Jonathan Brooks is the most likely leader, any lost time is giving more snaps to the young guys, and those young guys are definitely talented. Savion Red is very, very difficult to tackle. I think he's got a little bit more wiggle than Rashawn Johnson, maybe not quite as much quickness as Rashawn through the hole. Rashawn John tested very well in that regard. He looked like it on tape too. He got going downhill really good. But Savion Red has some of those qualities. He's tough, very hard to tackle. Cedric Baxter, of course, we know he has all the talent in the world. I think one of the most encouraging things we've heard so far is Jaden Blue's running it tough between the tackles. That was the question mark coming out of high school. We know he's got the speed. We know he can hit the sideline and break ankles. But he's running it between the tackles, and that's what you have to do to maximize your ability as a running back. And, encouragingly for him, he's on kick return with Jordan Whittington. When Blue came out, I said, if he's got the heart to run it up the gut, he's got the ideal size and speed to be a great kick returner. So him and Whittington back there is pretty dang exciting.
And a running back needs the big boys up front to really shine. One of the best things we heard this week was Kelvin Banks is the best offensive player on the field. So why are we hearing that?
He's just dominating. He's not just picking up where he left off. He's stronger than he was. He's playing with a little bit more assertiveness, which is kind of scary because he played with plenty last year. He's just taking the next step. He's a 3-year player, and 3-year players get better after the first year and into the second year, and then we have to say goodbye, have them a bon voyage in their final year where they truly ball out and then win an Outland trophy or something. But he's right on pace. He's dominant. He's that's where they're going to run behind. But he's also a wall in pass protection as well. But Christian Jones was also mentioned. Christian Jones is again not picking up where he left off. He came back to get better and improve his draft stock. Early returns are that he's going to do that.
We got some tackles, man. And then on the flip side, reports are Tavondre Sweat is still kicking ass, but the fans will be excited to hear that Alfred Collins is coming on as well and actually utilizing his potential. So what's the update with that room after this past week?
Yeah, the D tackles are in a good spot. They have 4 that they feel really good about, 4 guys that played a lot last season. Tavondre Sweat, he made a very good read on a screen pass on Saturday, picked Quinn off. He's taken on a big leadership role. As important as he is on the field, he's very important with helping to bring Sadir Mitchell along, just kind of keeping that lineage of strong defensive line play going. But, I think the most important thing, and not just from Saturday, but just from the first couple of weeks of practice, is that, Alfred Collins is playing his best and most consistent football since he got to Texas. He's played really good at times, but he hasn't really kept it up consistently. If we're still hearing this in August, then you can expect a very big year from him. It's a contract year. That's a huge motivator for him. This is the last chance to leave a strong legacy at a school. He's got all the talent in the world. All he needs is consistency. And so far, we're hearing very good things about that. But, got to temper excitement there. Byron Murphy's good. Vernon Broughton's coming along a little bit too. They think Vernon's going to give him a whole lot of snaps this season. Now the goal at the position is just to try to iron out depth. We've been hearing some positives about Aaron Bryant. Sadir Mitchell's going to need to keep developing well into the offseason, and we'll see what happens in September. But the first 4 are going to be very good.
And when we spoke last video, we stated this was David Benda's shot to take the open will linebacker spot, but he has to fend off the younger guys. Good news is that you're hearing that he looks really locked in.
Yeah, we heard good things about Benda throughout the offseason, working very hard. Obviously, if you go to his Instagram page, you can see that guy's not afraid of work. But kind of like Quinn, we were anxious to see if he was gonna take it from the offseason onto the field. Maybe doesn't have the spotlight on, but Quinn does. But obviously, we know Will's a huge hole in the defense right now, at least on a surface. But he's having a good spring for sure. They could start him next year and be perfectly fine. Anthony Hill, he's not nearly as ready as Ford and Benda from a mental standpoint, but he's, I think, ahead of the curve relative to being a freshman. He's one of those freshmen that they're really testing, trying to get sped up in anticipation of playing him a whole lot. So he's right there. And, one practice we hear about Blackwell, the next it's about Benda, the next it's about Hill doing things. So they've got 3 guys that are, really coming along. And I'm not, I haven't been worried about Will pretty much at all this offseason. It's one to keep an eye on. I think the coaches have a good handle on it based on what I've been hearing from spring ball. I think the coaches were right to have a good handle on it. Pretty optimistic about Will. I just, I don't know how exactly it's going to shake out. I do think Benda probably does have the upper hand, but, they're all going to play. And, there's a lot of times they're in a base defense. They have 3 linebackers out there. So Blackwell might stay at Sam, but I'm optimistic about where they are. And, Anthony Hill's going to play a ton this year. I just don't know if he's technically going to start.
Cool. And then we have a talented DB room with a great mix of guys, but a key piece is transfer Gavin Holmes, and he's looking good, and he's even able to keep up with the speedster like Worthy. So what have we seen out of him?
Yeah, we've been riding this a lot. Corners loaded. The expectations coming into spring ball were that Gavin Holmes were going to have the best pure cover man skills in the program, and that's definitely the case as of right now. Anyway, he had a really good day running with Worthy, and if you can run with Worthy, you can run with anybody. And I don't just mean in college. Worthy has some of the best get open skills you'll find in football, and for Gavin Holmes to be sticky on him and make some plays on the ball is very encouraging for Texas at field corner next year. But Terrence Brooks is having a good spring. Ryan Watts, I think we all know what to expect from there. Austin Jordan, I keep singing Austin Jordan's praise because I know he's going to be a good player. I just don't know exactly when, just because they're still loaded at corner and star. Gavin Holmes, I think, is going to be a revelation to some, but the expectations coming in, there's a reason they pulled him out of the portal when they already had good options. They think that guy can be a difference maker in coverage.
Great stuff as always, Eric, and we're going to link up again to cover this coming week of practice. But in the meantime, let the fans know where to find all the latest reports coming out of practice.
Yeah, find us at InsideTexas.com. We have a loaded roster. Sign up now. There's still plenty of spring ball left to talk. Recruiting is going to heat up over the spring. We'll carry you into August camp, and then the season begins. Right now, you can sign up. It's $30 till the beginning of the season. If you give us one chance, I think you'll be giving us a lot more. We've got a very loaded roster. Texas Homer, I think, there's a reason that we work together. I think his quality is similar to ours. So check us out.
And that's a wrap on Eric Nalin. Head over to Inside Texas and sign up today. Thanks for hanging out. Watch some more of my videos here. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to support quality Texas content. As always, hook 'em.